the Miami Dolphins versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brought to you by Ram Tough Trucks and revolutionary new cars. Dodge, an American revolution. By Bud Light, the less filling right here with the first name in taste. And by Holiday Inn Hotels. Holiday Inn is a better place to be.
The 98th consecutive sellout at Freebird Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Steelers coming off a victory on Monday night here over Cincinnati. A team in transition lead the American Football Conference Central Division. And today they'll go up against the undefeated Miami Dolphins. The big story, the return of Danny Boy. Danny Marino comes back to his hometown. The top passer in the National Football League. Marino, a man who had many memorable victories with the University of Pittsburgh. And an undefeated Miami Dolphin team this afternoon playing here. And a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody. Jay Randolph to call the play, and alongside, nobody better to analyze this one than the quarterback, Bob Greasy. Woodley now quarterbacks the Pittsburgh Steelers, and it is a homecoming for Marino.
Woodley is playing very well, too, Jay, but the real story, as you said, is Dan Marino. He grew up in the streets of Pittsburgh, went to high school, he was a star, All-American at the University of Pittsburgh. It's a homecoming for Danny Boy.
And the keys to this game, first of all, for Miami.
No surprise there. Dan Marino has to play well. He's been carrying the Miami Dolphins all year with his passing. Not a lot of running for the Dolphins, but he'll get his stiffest test today against the Steeler defense.
How about the Steelers?
Big play defense, no question about it. They have to turn the ball over in good field position for their offense and also make some things happen.
And each week we like to get a quote from Bob Greasy. Here's the quarterback quote for this week.
Well, Jay, the Steeler defense is very intimidating. They like to attack. They're aggressive, very physical. In the 3 wins for Pittsburgh this year, they've had 16 sacks of the quarterback, 11 interceptions, 4 of which they've returned for touchdowns. So it's Marino's day. Will they steal it away?
And Bob, that question will be answered here this afternoon. Miami 5-0, leading the AFC East, and Pittsburgh 3-2, leading the Central. Set to kick off, number 1, Gary Anderson. Fulton Walker will receive. Walker in the middle, looks at this kick, takes it 2 yards deep. At the 10, out to the 15, to the 16-yard line. The Dolphins haven't had much excitement on the kickoff returns. Their 13.1-yard average is an NFL low. Marino will start as the signal caller with Nathan and Bennett, Duper, Clayton, and Johnson. Stevenson, one of the fine centers in the game, with Foster and Newman, Giesler and Green. Miami at their own 16-yard line. Sellout crowd, 59,000. Bennett goes on the wing left. The pitch comes back to Nathan. Nathan gets to the 19 and is hit hard there. Coming up to make the play, Robin Cole, number 56. Goodman, Dunn, and Gary up front. Merriweather, he's an outstanding young linebacker with Little, Cole, and Hinkle.
Fine set of linebackers, Jay.
And how about this secondary? Woodruff, Washington, Shell, and Williams. They've been making the big play for Pittsburgh. Joe Carter is now in the backfield, number 23, along with Woody Bennett for the Dolphins. 2nd down and 7 from the 19. He completes it. That's the tight end, Johnson. Penalty marker goes down. Johnson a yard short of the first down at the 26-yard line. Tackle made by Harvey Clayton, number 33. Jerry Markbright, the referee today. This penalty will go against Miami. Ben Montgomery, the head linesman. Dale Hammer, the line judge. As you look at Don Shula, Howard Rowe, the back judge.
Pass interference, number 83, offense, 2nd down again.
Call against Clayton right there. The young man from Louisville, been bothered by a groin injury. Tom Kelleher's the side judge. Merrill Douglas, the field judge, and Bill Stanley completing the crew. The Dolphins, the least penalized team in the National Football League.
Jay, and what you're going to see a lot today is the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to take away the 2 wide receivers for the Dolphins. They've caught 11 touchdown passes. The Steelers want to make the Dolphins beat them somewhere else.
wonderful job. Merriweather, the third-year man from Pacific, made the stop on Tony Nathan.
One of the plays we're going to be seeing a lot today, Jay, as we take a look at Marino dropping back to pass, is right here. The scouting report. Clayton and Duper will both go straight down. Rose, they're all four going straight down the field, and Marino will read whichever one of them is open.
Third down, 13. Marino steps up and throws, and it's complete. Very close to the first down. The pass caught by Joe Rose, the tight end.
Rose is hurt.
Looked like he got the first down near the 27-yard line. The tackle made by Ron Johnson, number 29, in there in the nickel defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don Shula, 54 years old, a native of Painesville, Ohio, was once an offensive back at John Carroll in Cleveland, Ohio. They're measuring to see if they got the first down. It looks like they did. We've got a scoreless game, Miami and Pittsburgh. Nathan 22 and Bennett 34 in the backfield. They operate from the 27-yard line. Marino throwing and completing out to the 35. The catch made by Tony Nathan. That's his 14th catch of the season. Eric Williams, number 21, the free safety, made the play. Nathan with 104 yards receiving coming into today's game.
Jay, you're going to see a lot of substituting today by the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Anything, it's 2nd and 6 or over, they want to get their linebackers or defensive secondary in there. They'll go to their nickel. They'll try to confuse the offensive blocking scheme and also try to confuse Marino.
Chuck Knoll there, 52 years old, native of Cleveland, Ohio. Jim Jensen, number 11, in the game now for Miami. That's Jensen going in motion to the far side. Tony Nathan to the 40-yard line. Nathan starts the day with a 3.4 rushing average on 142 yards. John Goodman, number 95, the left end, make the play.
Dolphins are trying to get some kind of running game going to take some pressure off of their passing game. They haven't been successful in the past, but last week against St. Louis, they got a little bit going. They need a better balance of pass and run.
The Dolphins 21st in rushing in the NFL, 1st in passing, 3rd overall in offense. 2nd down and 8 at the 39-yard line. The rush is on. Marino gets out of there and completes it all the way to the 48-yard line to Tony Nathan. Well, there you saw his ability on a 14-yard pickup. Marino scrambling, and the big, strong fella getting out of the grasp there. Probably the biggest reason that Marino's success is he had time to throw most of the time. This time he didn't, Bob, but he got away with it.
As you see, the two linebackers, David Little and Hinkle, 53, were both in there. This is something the Steelers want to do, get penetration up the middle, into the pocket to force Marino to move around. They feel like if they can make him move, they've got a chance to cover it.
Marino's only been sacked once this season. That's the fewest times of any quarterback in the NFL. He hands off to Woody Bennett, and Bennett gets a yard at best, trying it right up the middle. Tough going up there. Leading the way, number 95, John Goodman.
You see defense, and this is, they call them defense, but they're more offensive than a lot of offenses in the National Football League. They are very offensive defense. It's the strength against strength. The Steeler defense is obviously the strength of their club, and of course the Dolphin offense is their strength. Good matchup right here.
Pittsburgh, 4th on defense in the NFL. They're 4th against the rush, 9th against the pass. 2nd down and a long 9. And jumping off, Keith Gary, number 92 for the Steelers, and penalty markers are down. Gary out of Oklahoma. These two ends, Goodman and Gary, both playing for the Sooners. Very talented young ends.
Full start, number 79.
The call is going to go against
2nd down.
number 79, John Giesler. He moved first.
To the right of your screen, he jumped and he had to pay for it. As you said, Keith Gary was a first-round draft choice, and his partner in crime, number 93, Keith Willis, was a free agent. They're the best pass rushers on the Steeler defensive line.
2nd down and 15. receptions, tops in the National Football League. He played at Tampa Technical High School, a free agent find.
He's a big player. Stature-wise, he's only 5'9". He'll be covering Mark Clayton and Duper, who are both 5'9", so he can look him right in the eye, Jay.
Third down and 9. Marino 4 for 4 in this drive, 42 yards from the shotgun. Marino over the middle, incomplete at the 32-yard line. He was going for Joe Rose. The veteran Donnie Shell had the coverage. The receiver open for just a moment, but Shell closed on him.
It was tight coverage, Jay, and I think you can see a tempo. Watch the blitz here. 53 Hinkle, blitzing 57 Merriweather. They're putting pressure on Marino. They don't want to give him time to throw. He got rid of it. He didn't come back for the football. If he would have come back for it, he would have caught it, but Marino didn't have an opportunity to really drill the ball in there. The scheme, the theory for the defense is pressure and tight coverage.
Reggie Roby on to do the punting, the second-year man from Iowa, averaging 44.8. Rick Woods back to receive it. Punt angled to the far sideline, goes out of bounds, and it'll be marked at about the 14-yard line. The Steelers will have it there, a 33-yard punt by Roby. We're in the first quarter with 9:42 to play. Miami and Pittsburgh are scoreless. St. Louis scores on a Lomax to Marsh pass to lead Dallas. Minnesota over Tampa Bay. Ted Brown scoring from 1 yard out. 7-0 Minnesota leading Tampa Bay. No score here. The Dolphins had it for 10 plays and ate up 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Now the Steelers. And the handoff going to Frank Pollard. Pollard getting near the 15-yard line. Tackle. You'll see the rookies in white. Woodley with Ehrenberg, Pollard, Stallworth, and the rookies there. Thompson along with Kolodziejski. Ilkin, Voorhees, Webster, the rookie Terry Long, and Larry Brown. The offense for the Steelers with a record of 3-2. Second down from the 15-yard line. David Woodley, who played at LSU, in motion 84, Kolodziejski. To Ehrenberg, the young rookie from Colgate. He gets a couple. The stop is made by Ernie Roan, number 55. It's Betters. And they have Baumhauer there. Of course, Baumhauer is not playing.
Bocamper not playing.
Or Bocamper is not playing. Baumhauer. There's another rookie, Jay Brophy. Brodzinski with Roan and Bowser. That injury to Bocamper was a toughie before the game last week in St. Louis. Third down and 3 at the 21-yard line.
They're faking blitz. Back out of it.
Woodley's in trouble and he goes down right along the 20-yard line. A sack. Charles Bowser, number 56, the right outside linebacker.
It's interesting, Jay. The first time the Dolphins, 3rd and long, playing David Woodley. David Woodley, of course, former Dolphin, knows their defense. The first time they come up in a 3rd and long situation, the Dolphin defense, 11 across the line of scrimmage, faking blitz and then backing out of it. Obviously, they won that play.
Craig Colquitt to do the punting. Played at Tennessee. Fulton Walker is downfield. A wobbly punt taken at the 40. Outside, Walker to the 45, up to the 47, maybe to the 48-yard line. A 39-yard punt, about an 8-yard return. Making the stop, Mark Catano, number 78 for Pittsburgh. 7:40 to go in the first quarter. No score. Steelers talking it over along the sideline.
David Woodley checking with John Stallworth and seeing what he saw on that first possession of theirs, that 3rd down play where the Dolphins up there faking blitz. May see some more of that.
1st and 10 at the 49-yard line. Joe Carter is dumped hard right at the line of scrimmage. Gary Dunn, the nose man. He's one of the NFL's most effective nose tacklers. He made the play.
Jay, we were talking a little earlier about the scouting report for the Dolphins. One of their favorite plays is Clayton will go deep on this side and Duper over here. Joe Rose will come down the middle and Cephalo here. Now, Marino can throw it to anybody he wants to. He just has to look
a very versatile performer. Started the first 2 games of this season and is now in there in that secondary when they go to the nickel.
They like him a lot, Jay. They feel like they have a real find in Chris Brown. Maybe a strong safety, maybe replacing Shell in a couple of years.
Duper, Clayton, and Cepolo, along with Rose and Johnson, all in the lineup here out of the shotgun. 3rd down and 4. Marino throws, and it is complete to Cepolo. Cepolo just short of the first down. Sam Washington, number 41, came up to make the play with help from Woodruff, number 49. Washington switched to corner last year after the Mel Blount retirement.
53, Tony Nathan will step inside and pick up Hinkle. Good protection. Marino looks downfield, comes back to his outlet. Enough for the first down. Nope. They call it 4th down. Here's Tony Nathan stepping inside. He sees his man. He's blocked, and he slips out. See right now, Jay, that the Steelers want to pressure Marino. They want tight coverage, pressure Marino.
You said they might try to steal it away from him today. Roby averaging 44.8. Downfield for the Steelers, number 22, Rick Woods. Just about a yard shy of the first down. Roby hangs one high, a floater to the far sideline. Coming up and taking it over there is Rick Woods. Boy, he took that one on the run. He had no fear. Bruce Hardy, 84, and Paul Langford, 44, ran him out of bounds. Pittsburgh will have the football after a 27-yard punt. Here's what you've been waiting for all season long. Coming up.
Like the one before, they just had you up there.
And working on Clayton down there.
Harvey Clayton.
The Steelers set to operate 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line. On the move, Ehrenberg, the young rookie from Colgate, knocked out of bounds on the far side. Let's go to New York, NFL 84, and this update.
Jay, watch what just happened up in Pontiac. Billy Sims fumbles. Rulon Jones is there and takes it in from 5 yards out. It's 14-0 Denver quickly. And at Soldier Field in Chicago, Walter Payton has gained 32 yards. He now needs 35 to pass Jim Brown.
And no score here in the Steel City of Pittsburgh on 2nd down. Woodley is hit just as he got it away. Incomplete pass. Had to hold on for a minute, Bob, to see how they would rule that. They ruled his arm was moving forward. Bowser, 56, the man who made the play for Miami.
A little scouting report on what the Steelers like to do. One of their favorite plays is a trap. The guard coming over and this back getting into the hole. They also have a play action where Woodley fakes it. This back will get down the middle of the field, and Stallworth will go deep, and he'll either run a deep pass or out, get either receiver. One of the favorite plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
A.J. Dewey in the lineup for the Dolphins, number 77. Wayne Capers comes in for Pittsburgh as Kolodziejski, the tight end, is out. 3rd down. The rush is on. The throw is too far. Going for John Stallworth. Overthrown. Glenn Blackwood had the coverage. Stallworth out of Alabama A&M. Woodley just couldn't get it to him. They are putting some pressure on him.
They certainly are, and the reason Paul Langford, number 44, was on him free from the right side of your screen. Well, there you see Thomas, 54, but from the right side, 44, with the pressure on, nobody was blocking him. It's one of the things that the Steelers got to work out. You know, Jay, they've had some problems in their offensive line.
Colquitt punting again. Fulton Walker downfield. This time at the 37. Trying to get outside. Cuts it back in across the 45 to the 47-yard line. A 40-yard punt, a 10-yard return. Terry Eccles, number 94, makes the tackle. Well, stay with us for the second half of our football doubleheader today. Here's a preview of what's coming up.
To Los Angeles, heavy weather.
Backer, a toe injury, listed today as doubtful. He was going to try to go, and he may yet try to go.
Dislocated toe, and that is really bugging him. It's making him very frustrated. He doesn't know what to do. He's played with other injuries. He can't play without his wheels.
From the 46, first down, Marino sets it up to Nathan. Nathan outside at the 50 and down to the 47-yard line. A little screen out to the right 47, the left outside linebacker, making the play.
Merriweather out lining up over Duper, so he can't get off the line of scrimmage. Merriweather with good speed comes back up, sees the screen. They're going to be doing this all day to the wide receivers. He came back and got a piece of the tackle, but they're concerned about Mark Duper and Mark Clayton. Have somebody in their face at all the time.
Nathan's caught 4 passes for 37 yards. Second down and 3. And the big back, Woody Bennett, is short of the first down. He got maybe a yard as John Goodman, number 95, came up to make the play. In the Dallas-St. Louis game, as we look at them attending to Woodley, it's now 7-7.
Woodley was hit on that last play that he was in there by Langford. I wonder if maybe he was a little dizzy.
Tony Dorsett scoring in that Dallas-St. Louis game. Kansas City leading the Jets 3-0. New England leading Cleveland 3-0, and Buffalo 7-0 over Philadelphia. It is third down and 3 at the 47 for the Dolphins from the shotgun. Marino over the middle and intercepted. Coming back with it is Brian Hinkle. Hinkle returns it to midfield. That's only the 4th interception Marino has thrown. We'll look at it again. Hinkle's first interception.
Number 53 will cut back inside. Marino tries to force it, throws a little bit behind him. That's the key to this linebacker. The defense is the linebackers. Hinkle is very quick.
We'll be back with more from Pittsburgh in just a moment.
Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it's that easy. Try Skull Bandits, the little pouch of pleasure, in wintergreen or new mint.
Mark Malone, number 16 on the left, coming into the game. Woodley, a slight concussion. Bob, this is an interesting facet to this ball game early.
Certainly is, Jay, and you wonder about a concussion. What is a concussion? It's a bruise of your brain, and it can. What happens is you forget what you're doing. You don't know the plays last different amounts of time.
Elton Fields going in motion. Handoff goes to Ehrenberg. And he's across the 50 to the 48-yard line. Betters 75 and Roan 55 on the tackle.
You know, in my 14 years of playing, I had several concussions, and sometimes you'll come out of it in a quarter. It takes 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. Other times, you can't remember what you're doing or where you are until you're on the plane ride home, if you're going home.
Malone out of Arizona State has the size and strength. Number 1 draft pick at 80. He's thrown 24 passes, completed 11 for 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And a problem at the line of scrimmage. The referee today, Jerry Markbright, graduate of Illinois.
Start. Number 61. Up in. Second down.
Call against Wingle, number 61. You see him moving.
See, this is a problem you have with a new quarterback, Jay. Even though you work with him in practice, when you get in a ball game, maybe he holds the count a little bit longer than David Woodley does. It always takes a little bit of time to adjust to a new quarterback coming into the ball game.
Woodley was 0 for 2 in the passing department. He's sitting it out at the moment. 2nd and 13 from the 46. Malone with time. Throws too high. Almost intercepted. A fine play by Judson, 49, as he almost trapped that ball and came up with it. Third down. Woodley out of Shreveport, Louisiana. He beat out Malone for the job here.
And he's doing very well here, Jay. They really like him. The team has had so many injuries offensively. He has been the only constant. Offensive line injuries, the running back situation, they have 5 rookies out of 7. The wide receiver's been hurt. Woodley has been the force behind that offense.
You see Miami with a big edge in time of possession.
They're up there threatening deep blitz again.
The throw, batted away at the 45-yard line. They were trying to get it to the rookie, Ouija Thompson, number 87, right there in the middle of your screen. Judson again made a fine play, number 49. Thompson out of Florida State. So Malone doesn't have much success. In fact,
coverage isn't as bad as you might think it was because he hasn't punted that well, but he's had some good rolls.
He really doesn't have any excuse.
Number 59, offense, fourth down.
The call.
Seaball, 59, reserve linebacker.
No, Colquitt had the Achilles tendon problem back in '82, but he came back and punted well last year, but he's had trouble getting on track this season. Again, Colquitt with Walker deep. A low pass. Gets it away, and this one's not nearly as good. Fair catch called for by one of the up men on the far sideline. It was Kozlowski, a 35-yard punt. Well, we want to have you join us, of course, next Sunday. More NFL action on NBC. We'll kick off the day at 12:30. There's 6 great games scheduled, including 2 teams that like to throw the ball, Bob, the Chargers and the Chiefs there.
That game may last 4 hours.
That's right. Of course, the Dolphins will be going up against Warren Moon and the Oilers. At halftime, you'll see the AFL Remember. So don't forget to check your local listings for the game to be seen in your area next Sunday. NFL action. And we've got another game coming up for you later this afternoon right here. A doubleheader day on NBC. Bennett out to the 35-yard line. Brian Hinkle, the linebacker, number 53, makes the play. Bring you up to date on a couple of games that are underway on this Sunday afternoon, as Chicago now leads New Orleans 6-0. 2 Bob Thomas field goals of 48 and 46 yards. Minnesota 14-0 over Tampa Bay. Kramer's just passed to Ted Brown, a 13-yarder. Jim Jensen in the lineup for Miami, number 11. Second down and 5 from the 35. Nathan bangs his way across the 40, 45, almost broke it. Now a fumble. Well, the ball was down at the 47-yard line. A 12-yard pickup by Nathan, and frankly, Mr. Greasy, it might have been a lot more. Big play by Washington, number 41.
Could have been a lot more, Jay, but obviously the ground cannot cause a fumble. Good line blocking by the offensive line of the Dolphins. Gets through there. If he just doesn't get tripped up, Washington makes the tackle. Washington not known for his defensive tackling. He's a very good coverage guy, but at 5'9", I guess you don't want to get up there and mix it up with those bigger ones.
20 seconds left to play in this quarter. Jensen comes in motion. First down. They give it to Carter. And Carter fumbled the football at the 48-yard line, and a pile up there. Merriweather leading the Pittsburgh Steelers up on the play, and as they unravel it, Miami controls the football.
Take a look at 57. Merriweather up against Johnson, 87. Plays off of the block of Bennett. Gets out, gets a little piece of it. Shell, number 31, knocked the ball loose. Couldn't see who was at the bottom of that pile and recovered it. It's the first time that Carter carried the ball today, and he put it on the ground.
Merriweather, a number 3 draft choice. Very improving football player. The end of the first quarter here in Pittsburgh. Bob Greasy, Jay Randolph here at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. A scoreless first quarter.
There are the first quarter stats, and all that really tells you is the Dolphin offense and the Pittsburgh Steeler defense are battling it out. The Dolphin defense is dominating the Steeler offense.
Marino, 7 of 9, 59 yards. Second down and 6. Marino throws on the run, and he underthrows the tight end, Dan Johnson. Johnson was in the clear. Donnie Shell was out there close by, but Marino threw that one a bit hurried and didn't get it there. We get word that Harvey Clayton has a bruised leg, and he will be replaced in the Steeler nickel by Chris Brown. Merriweather, number 57. What a fine young player.
Tremendous speed for a linebacker, 4.55 for a linebacker, weighs about 220, had 3 sacks last week, and really is one of the key players on that defense. Quickness.
Third down for the Dolphins. And the pass is complete. That's Cepolo. He's short of the first down by about a yard as Donnie Shell made the play. A couple of times today, Bob, they've just been short on those completions.
Well, and the reason they're because he's getting pressured. He doesn't have time to wait. The linebacker right you'll see, Marino will not have a lot of time to sit there and wait. The Steelers said, we don't need to get to him, just pressure him a little bit. He didn't have much time. That's the theory of that defense. Make him throw it short, 3rd and 10, make him throw it 7 or 8 yards, tackling, make him punt it away.
Punting time for Reggie Ropey. Woods is back to receive. Woods lets it go, and it goes into the end zone. 45-yard punt. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. So we're in the opening moments of the second period here in Pittsburgh. The Dolphins and the Steelers are 0-0. Number 1 wide receiver Lewis Lips is out of the game. Also, Craig Wolfley, a hamstring injury out. He's a guard. Benny Cunningham, fine tight end, out of this game with a hip injury.
They're really struggling offensively due to the injuries. Like I said, the only constant has been David Woodley, and now he is out.
And Mark Malone quarterbacking the Steelers. 1st and 10 from the 20-yard line. Play action. The first completion of the afternoon to the tight end, Chris Kolodziejski. He was run out of bounds by Brzezinski out there. Time for an update. Let's go to New York and NFL 84.
All right, Jay, up in Pontiac, the Lions have come back and scored after a long drive. Gary Danielson on the bootleg after the fake to Sims. So Detroit has cut the Bronco lead to 7. And in Chicago, Walter Payton is now 25 yards short of Jim Brown's record. The Saints now have the ball. Back to Three Rivers.
There's the quarterback situation as we come back, and the pitch back goes to Pollard. Pollard getting to about the 27-yard line. A moment ago, that was the first passing yardage we mentioned for you for Pittsburgh this afternoon. Doug Betters, number 75, making the tackle on Pollard, who's averaging 3.3 per carry.
Jay, as we take a look at some scores, you were talking about the injuries on the offensive line. Kolodziejski is the only tight end that the Steelers have on their active roster.
Some tight games going here on this Sunday afternoon. The Dolphins in the prevent defense on 3rd down. And on the far sideline, incomplete. The pass was to Ouija Thompson, and he was out of bounds. Thompson coming back, slipped a little bit, and found himself out of bounds.
It was a good throw by Malone, a good read, and a good route by Ouija Thompson. You're right, Jay. He came back for the ball. He just bobbled it as he was going down and out of bounds.
Mark Malone getting the call, replacing Woodley, who shaken up and has a slight concussion. Colquitt has his 4th punt of the afternoon coming up. Bolton Walker downfield to receive. We have 12:58 to go. Bad pass from center, but Colquitt gets away a dandy. Walker at the 24. Got it to about the 29-yard line, a 48-yard punt. 5-yard return. Rick Woods for Pittsburgh made the tackle. Miami and Pittsburgh. No score here at Three Rivers.
Today's game is brought to you by Today Chevrolet. See Today Chevy. Drive Today Chevy. Live Today Chevy. By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. And by U.S. Postal Service. Discover stamp collecting. Discover the America you may never get to see.
More NFL action later this afternoon on NBC. 1st and 10 to go from the 31-yard line for the Dolphins. Marino using play action, looking to the near sideline and completing it. The catch made by Clayton, and he's out of bounds. He picks up a 1st down right near midfield. An 18-yard play. David Little, number 50, the inside linebacker, knocked him out.
David Little was trying to have him tell him to have a seat on the bench.
Trying to knock him over in the river here. Look at Marino as he watched his receiver hit the bench and hoped that everything was going to be all right.
He's a little upset with his one of his favorite receivers going over the bench. He's going to go over and fight for him.
Marino, born right here in Pittsburgh. 9 out of 12. Bruce Hardy's in the game now, number 84 at tight end. That's
Hardy. 74 is Green. Goodman, 95, is blocked out by Green. Good cut by Nathan. I'll tell you, Jay, this defense is so aggressive. As you see 49 Woodruff coming into the picture and getting a piece of it. Donnie Shell is the man, now that Lambert is on the injured list, that is really keeping this defense together. He says, if you're not going to hit him, get out of the way so somebody else can hit him.
Nathan, 23 yards on 5 carries. This is Bennett banging down to the 42-yard line. Bennett, who played, of course, at Miami and was the blocking back for O.J. Anderson. Robin Cole, number 56, made the tackle. Clock is running with 11 minutes and 40 seconds left to play. We're in the second quarter here at Three Rivers. Matt Barrs kicked a 48-yard field goal. Cleveland's leading at 6-3. Minnesota leading Tampa Bay 14-7. Andrew Armstrong has scored from 1 yard out. No score here. Pete Johnson, number 46, in the backfield doing the blocking for Bennett. Got the first down, I believe. It's very close, but it looks like he's got it near the 40-yard line.
Jay, we have two of the finest centers in the league right here. 57 is Dwight Stevenson for the Dolphins, blocking on Dunn. He gets his job done. Dunn was sliding that way. He gets his man taken down. I don't know if they're going to make this or not, but two of the finest centers. We'll take a look.
I said he had the first down, but when I look now at where they spotted that ball, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. The referee is Jerry Markbright today. Bennett was up in front. Well, they don't have it.
You know, the Dolphins have good field position on 2 of their 4 drives. They started in their own 48 and their own 46. They've had 3 punts and an interception. That is highly unusual for Marino and this Dolphin offense. They're used to putting points on the board in the first quarter.
Miami is going to go for it. We had a look at both coaches right there, Bob, and of course they both have a Cleveland Brown connection, and Don Shula hired Chuck Dole to come to work for him in Baltimore in 1966.
He worked for 3 years with Shula in Baltimore and then went on to this job, and Don Shula has been one of his biggest supporters.
This crowd rooting on the Steeler defense, 4th and less than a yard. The give goes to the big guy Johnson, who came over from San Diego, and he's got the first down, but penalty markers are down as John Goodman looked like he might have jumped off or been drawn off. We'll wait and see.
Encroachment, number 95, defense, first down.
John Goodman, 95. The Steelers should know better. The Dolphins have tried to do this for years and years and years. Marino probably has been going on the snap count of 1 the whole ball game. He comes up there now and he says, hup, and pulls him off. Of course, the Dolphins have to be disciplined enough that they don't jump. Steelers didn't even have an opportunity to stop the running play.
First down at the 36-yard line. Marino with lots of time, throwing into coverage, and it should have been intercepted. It should have been picked away by Washington, but the linebacker Hinkle bumped into him. The pass was intended for Duper, thrown into heavy coverage.
Let's take a look at the end of this play. At the top of your screen, Marino throws the ball inside as if he expected Duper to break to the inside of the field. The reason he threw it poorly because he had to throw it early, Jay. Maybe we'll see it here, dropping back to pass. Now, he liked it to wait a little bit longer, but as you see, he's getting rushed by Merriweather and Goodman. Didn't have time to wait for him.
Second down and 10. Bruce Hardy, the tight end, set to the right side as Marino wants to go upstairs again. He throws, and it is complete. The catch made by Clayton. Clayton's down to the 16-yard line. Mark Clayton, the 19-yard pickup. Clayton, who's been bothered a bit by a groin injury. Number 8 draft choice out of Louisville.
It doesn't get any easier, but here's the middle of the field down here. Marino, the tight end, is going to come. Hardy, the tight end, will come in and out, and Marino will drop back to pass and throw the ball down here. The wide receiver will come from the right side. As you see, there's nobody in the middle of the field. 53 Hinkle will break to the outside as Marino looks out there with Hardy. Inside is wide open.
Back live, first down at the 16-yard line for Miami. Pitch back comes to Nathan. 15-yard line. Nathan, who played at Alabama, stopped by Brian Hinkle, number 53, and David Little, number 50.
What a good matchup this is. The Steeler defense, number 4 in the National Football League overall. The Dolphin offense leads the entire league in points scored. Great matchup, strength against strength.
8th play of this drive coming up. It'll be 2nd down and 7 at the 13-yard line. Duper set to the left side. Jensen goes in motion. Handoff to Nathan. Nathan down to the 8-yard line. That offensive line of the Dolphins with Stevenson at center, Foster and Newman and Green and Giesler doing a good job at the moment.
Good. Doing a very good job, Jay, especially Cleveland Green filling in. Watch number 11, Jim Jensen, the ex-quarterback, come in motion. They've got a play where he goes inside and blocks on the inside linebacker. This is the sister play where he comes in, the linebacker sees him coming, tries to attract his attention, and then Jensen turns out and blocks outside, but they're trying to get the eye of that inside linebacker.
Pete Johnson's in there, 3rd down and 2. Looked like the Steelers might have been offside. Johnson gets the call and gets it near the 6-yard line. Robin Cole, number 56, the inside linebacker, looked like he might have jumped. Johnson, as we mentioned, came over from San Diego a few weeks ago and has already scored a couple of touchdowns for Miami.
There's Robin Cole, another one of the fine linebackers. Take a look and see who jumps. Looks like the left side of the line, but there's a big hole inside. If Pete was about 10 pounds lighter, he could have gotten back into that big hole and maybe ran over one of those small defensive backs. Dunn was the man who, people always are amazed how the nose tackle, the guy right over the ball, can jump off sides. All you have to do is watch the football, but he's also the closest to the quarterback, and he is sometimes affected more by the inflection of the voice than anybody else.
1st and goal to go. The ball just inside the 5-yard line. Hurdling his way forward is Tony Nathan to about the 3-yard line. Keith Willis, number 93, there to make the stop.
I'd be very surprised if the Dolphins can run this in, Jay. The Steelers are very tough against the run. They've had only 4 touchdowns rushing against them this year. They've given up 7 via the pass. The Dolphins aren't that tough running, especially down in here, so kind of look for him to throw on this down. Go down to throw, 2nd down.
2nd down and goal. Johnson is back in there. 2 tight ends, Dan Johnson and Bruce Hardy. Pete Johnson, there's the throw, and you called it, Bob, to the tight end, Bruce Hardy, the big guy from Arizona State, and Miami is on the board.
Well, he had about 3 people open that time. Going from the I formation, the Dolphins don't do much from the I formation on the goal line, but run the tailback over the top. This time a good fake. 50, David Little sees it coming, realizes it's too late, and there's Bruce Hardy, but the other receiver, the other tight end on the other side of the field was just as open.
He had 22 catches last season, had only 2 coming into today's game. He's been bothered a bit by a rib injury. The point after, Uwe von Schamann puts it up, and it is good. We've got a timeout here in Pittsburgh with 7:49 to play in the first half, and the Dolphins take the lead 7-0. Plays and lead it here 7-0 as von Schamann gets set to kick off. Von Schamann will put the ball in play. Todd Spencer, averaging 21.4 per kickoff return, is the deep man. Von Schamann's kick coming to Spencer at the 3. Spencer at the 15. Out to the 18-yard line. And a little shoving and scratching there. And we see the referee, Mr. Mark Bright, right in the middle of it there, getting them separated. Paul Langford, 44, making the play.
Jay, every team has what they call headhunters, and for the Miami Dolphins, 45, Robert Sowell is one of the headhunters. Now, the Steelers know this too. They watch films, so they're looking for him. One guy hits him 54, another man hits him going. The Steelers are down 7-0. They just had a long drive scored against them. They want some action.
Abercrombie, number 34, out of Baylor. He's a big play threat. Mark Malone is doing the quarterbacking. If you've just joined us, slight concussion to David Woodley. Here's an interesting stat. Leading everybody, including the Steelers. That pass intended for Ouija Thompson, the rookie out of Florida State. And good coverage by Don McNeil, the cornerman, number 28. Last Monday night, the Steelers won 38-17 here over the Bengals.
We talked earlier about the two fine centers. As we take a look at Kim Bocamper, injured last week in a pre-game warm-up. Broken ankle, be out 6 to 8 weeks.
Don Shula was telling us when he heard him scream, he knew he had a problem.
He knew it was a serious injury.
Malone is 1 out of 5. 3rd and 8 from the 21. Good protection. He throws and completes it. First down, John Stallworth. Stallworth still going up the sideline. Well, that gives them something to cheer about here. A 24-yard gain. Kozlowski, number 40, on the tackle.
Stallworth is their main man. Here we'll see the tight end right here. He'll come down and release to the outside. Now Stallworth is out here. He'll come in like he's going across and stop and go back, and that is when Malone will hit him right here. But the key to this is a good run. Stallworth is their main receiver. They've got to get the ball to him.
Stallworth now needs 3 catches to pass Lynn Swann's all-time Steeler record. The pitch back coming. Abercrombie across the 50. Penalty marker goes down at midfield. Abercrombie averaging 3.6 per carry. Bob Brodzinski, number 59, made the tackle. Holding against the Steelers. Jerry Markbright, a national sales manager. As we mentioned, he graduated from Illinois. Illinois beating Wisconsin yesterday, and I guess we better mention Purdue's victory, huh?
I think so.
I know. If I don't mention it, you will.
First down.
A holding call puts it back to the 38-yard line. First down and 20 coming up.
Mike Webster, the center of the Steeler defensive line, has had a lot of changes going around him, but he is the man that makes it go. It's two of the best centers in the AFC. Baumauer, number 73, it's a good battle going on in that line.
Abercrombie across the 40-45 midfield, knocked out of bounds, short of the first down at the 47-yard line. William Judson made the play. Let's go to New York, NFL 84, and an update.
Jay, in Kansas City, the Chiefs lead the Jets 9-0. This pass from Todd Blackledge to Stephon Page set up one of 3 Nick Lowry field goals today. And in Chicago, Walter Payton needs just 17 yards now to pass Jim Brown. Let's send you back to Three Rivers.
And Todd Blackledge's daddy coaching right here.
Offensive line coach.
Second down and 2 at the 47-yard line for the Steelers. Miami leads 7-0. Handoff going to Pollard. Looks like he got the first down at the 44-yard line. We've been talking about Mike Webster. He's playing his 167th career game here tonight.
Number 52 against 73, Baumauer. That's a struggle going on in the middle of that line. Talking to Baumauer earlier in the week, he says, I've got to stay low on Webby because he's so strong that if I get anywhere up, if he can get underneath me, he'll blow me right on out.
Baumauer made the last tackle, but the Steelers have the first down. And they're moving with 5:55 left to go in the first half. That's their second first down of the afternoon. Mark Malone at the controls, replacing David Woodley. He throws. It's complete. That's Stallworth at the 32-yard line. 12-yard pickup and a first down.
What they mean by that illegal chop block, Jay, is the center probably was standing, Webster was probably standing up Baumauer, and while he was still in contact, 74 Long came over and cut his knees out from underneath. You have to be disengaged from any blocker before you can do that.
First and 25 from the 41. Malone and almost Kolodziejski high into the air. The young rookie from Wyoming almost came up with that one. It was a very tough catch. Number 59 on the play was Brodzinski with the coverage for Miami.
Kolodziejski is a very tall receiver right here. He's just going to go straight up the field. These two linebackers will drop straight back, and the quarterback Malone will try to fit it in. Right there, he's open if he can get the ball to him. Tough catch.
Yeah, but he almost came up with it. He's a young man who was born in Germany, went to high school in Santa Monica, California. Seventh play of this drive. It'll be second down and 25. Penalty marker down. It might be holding. Pass is complete to Stallworth. Stallworth got it to the 48-yard line, but they might be bringing this one back. An 11-yard pickup if it stands.
The one man that the Dolphins need to stop is John Stallworth. A little holding going on there for a second by Langford.
But they called holding back downfield against the Steelers before that.
Yeah, I think they had one, but they missed one. With Lewis Lips being out of there, as we get the call here from Jerry Markwright.
We have two holding calls on the play. Holding number 79, offense declined. Holding number 74, offense accepted. Second down.
Well, apparently Brown and Long were both holding.
Now what they did there, Brown, 79 is the veteran. He was holding, but they didn't call it on him. They waved that one off. They called it on the rookie, 74. So Brown's telling the rookie, says, hey, rookie, he says, you'll be in this league a lot longer than I will. I need as few of these as I can get.
Well, the Steelers are going the wrong way. Second down, 35, back at the 31. The third penalty charge against the Steelers in this drive. Fumble. Pollard got it back at the 31-yard line. Of course, Pollard and Ehrenberg have not had an opportunity to work as much with Malone as they had with Woodley.
Exactly. Although David Woodley was telling me yesterday that Chuck Noll asked him how he wanted to structure the practice after he decided Woodley was going to be the quarterback. He says, I'll take half the plays and let Malone take half the plays. When Bradshaw was here, Bradshaw took all the plays in practice.
Couple of scores. Washington leading Indianapolis 14-7. Theismann is thrown to Art Monk for 47 yards. And Minnesota leads Tampa Bay 21-14. Kramer to Malarkey for a score from 1 yard out. On third and 34. Malone over the middle. Almost intercepted. Intending for Stallworth. Glenn Blackwood played it very well. Stepped in front of the intended receiver and almost picked it off at the 43-yard line.
Third and 34, Jay, you said that makes a quarterback shudder. But as we'll see, he's trying to get this receiver right here. He's going to come up the field and go to the middle. Now, if you go to throw over the middle, you can't take a lot of time. Blackwood is going to be over here and cut right in front of him and try to make the interception. But if you throw over the middle of the field, you got to do it pretty quickly.
High pass handled by Colquitt. The punt coming down to Fulton Walker at the 34, over the 35, out to the 39-yard line. Walker putting his head down in heavy traffic, a 35-yard punt, a 6-yard return. 4:27 left to go in the first half. The Dolphins lead the Steelers. Jerry Markwright at the moment, won 4 Super Bowls and 12 consecutive non-losing seasons here. Chuck Noll and Don Shula, two of the best, tangling with their teams here this afternoon, along with Bob Greasy, Jay Randolph. Hope you're enjoying it wherever you are around the nation this afternoon. Miami with the football, leading 7-0. First and 10 from the 39-yard line. Bennett and Nathan in the backfield with Dan Marino. Marino with lots of time to the far sideline. And the catch is made at the 46-yard line.
catch, both feet inbounds.
Sir, boy, did a nice job there. Those moves are by some of the folks that didn't read the replay as well as we did from the big screen here. 12 out of 16. Marino's team first and 10. Clayton's caught 3 for 54. Handoff goes to Woody Bennett. And it's cracking down to the 40-yard line. Stop made by Rick Woods, number 22. Robin Cole, number 56. Woods playing, as we mentioned, for Harvey Clayton, who's come up with an injury. New Orleans now leading Chicago. Todd has thrown to Wayne Wilson for 15 yards. Dallas on a Raphael Seption field goal from 36 yards out leads the Cardinals. Word that the Indianapolis Colts had broken his leg in the game there today, and he's out for the season. Handoff went to Tony Nathan. Hinkle, number 53, made the stop with help from Woods. We'll get a look here at the young linebacker from Oregon.
Good player. Intercepted a pass earlier today. Has that quickness that all the linebackers that the Steelers have. And as I said before, the strength of that defense is in their linebacking core, and Jack Lambert is not in there.
Dolphins came into today's game converting an outstanding 44.8% of their third down opportunities. They're only 1 out of 6 this afternoon. Pete Johnson in the game, 3rd down and 2. The pitch to Bennett, got the first down. He got it inside the 35-yard line. Picked up the needed yardage. Edmund Nelson, 64, made the tackle.
Offensive line of the Dolphins has been playing well all year, Jay, giving Marino time. Stevenson, 57, Newman, 64, 74, Green. Here you see Stevenson, 57. That's a plus for him. He just has to get down there, stop the penetration, and allow the running back to get around in.
Duper at the top of the screen. Clayton down at the bottom. Marino under fire, throwing incomplete. Well, he was lucky to get that ball away. He got it off to Nathan. Merriweather was in there on him, the linebacker who has been so outstanding. Number 57, Merriweather, 3 sacks last week against the Bengals. 4 quarterback sacks this season.
Take a look here and see the pressure. As we talked about, the Steelers want to get pressure on Marino, make him throw. David Little, number 50, Newman picks him up, but that frees up the outside linebacker, Merriweather. And this is the thing that amazes me about Marino. When he is in trouble, he doesn't throw interceptions and he doesn't take the sack. He gets rid of it.
He's had as much pressure in this first half as he has at any time this season.
No question, but I think the Steelers may be a little frustrated. They haven't gotten to it.
Penalty marker down. Cephalo's in the game. The pass to Rose for a touchdown if it stands. Penalty marker is down. It's going to go against the Steelers. Rose shaken up down there.
Looks like he may have the wind or a rib injury. The wind knocked out of him. He got hit, but we'll wait and see. But that was an excellent throw.
Side, defense, declined. Touchdown is good.
Touchdown Dolphins, 34-yard pass play. Marino hooking up with the tight end, Joe Rose, his 2nd touchdown of the season.
From the end zone, the middle of the field, as you can see, is clear. Rose will be on the right side. Marino sees it all the way, lays it down the middle, says, I'm going to throw it long so my man can run underneath it, away from Merriweather. Merriweather with a tough assignment, trying to cover Joe Rose.
Rose, 2nd catch of the day. They're attending to him right there. Rose, they've been throwing to this fellow a little more of late, I think, Bob, haven't they?
They certainly have, and today especially, Jay. We said at the top of the show, the Steelers were going to take away Duper and Clayton, and Dan Marino says, if you're going to do that, I've got a man that can get down the middle of the field.
Discussion about the coverage over on that side, apparently.
Well, not with Seaball. Seaball wasn't in there, I don't think, but with the linebackers, as far as what you can do as far as maybe getting in. Seaball plays a lot on the special teams. It looks as though he's trying to talk about blocking a field goal or an extra point or something.
Rose getting up. We'll take a timeout with Miami leading it 13-0.
My team plays here.
Joe Rose, who just caught the touchdown pass, headed to the Dolphin dressing room. 2:21 left to go in the first half. The point after coming. Von Schaman with Strock holding. you about the World Series coming up on NBC next Tuesday night. Vin Scully and Joe Garagiola bringing you the action, the pregame show, hosted by Bob Costas. It all begins at 8 Eastern Time. And, of course, the Detroit Tigers are waiting to see who they play. Will it be the Padres or Chicago's Cubs?
Doesn't make any difference to me. I'll be there.
Yes, sir. The World Series on NBC. The great tradition continues.
I was a baseball player, Jay, before I ever saw football.
Right. Evansville, Indiana.
To listen to that baseball all the time, watch it.
Von Schaman kicking off. Todd Spencer coming out. Spencer at the 10, the 15. Outside at the 20, 25, got to the 27. Fine return by Spencer. Jim Jensen, number 11 on the specialty unit, the quarterback who does a little bit of everything.
You know, I coached for a year for the Dolphins, and Jim was one of my pupils, he along with David Woodley, but I'd never take any credit for anything he does on that special team. Maybe I taught him a little bit about playing quarterback, but he's on his own when he goes out there on that kickoff team.
First and 10 at the 28-yard line. Look at the time of possession here in the first half. Scoring drive, 61 yards and 6 plays. A pass out to the near sideline, and Abercrombie held on after it looked like he was going to drop it. Lyle Blackwood, number 42, made the tackle. They got a couple. Well, we got the 2-minute warning to both benches here at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the Dolphins have a 14-0 advantage.
That one of the finest men.
Wonderful visit with him today.
Inside and out of football.
There's a comparison of the quarterbacks in the early going. And it's all Miami, and Abercrombie is in a world of trouble. Nothing there for him. Barely got it back to the 29. Brudzinski made the stop, number 59.
Jay, we said at the top that the Steeler defense had to create some good field position for the offense. Their offense is not that strong with the injuries. Woodley was holding them together, and now the defense is not making those big plays.
They gave forward progress to the 30-yard line. It is 3rd down and 8 for Mark Malone. Look out. Down he goes. He lost the football. It is picked up. Baumhauer going in. Touchdown, Miami. Mark Malone took a shot from the blind side. The ball bounced out, and Baumhauer was the man that picked it up. I think it was Bowser that made the hit. Bowser, number 56.
There was a room service bounce that Baumhauer got. We take another look. He is not going to see him hit from the blind side. Looking to the right all the way. That's the problem, Jay, when you have, as Baumhauer gets the bounce. And now that's 2 great shots right there. 71 is Charles. He weighs about 300, and Baumhauer running it into the end zone.
21-yard touchdown for Miami. Von Schaman puts it through. The turnover, and Baumhauer, the defensive player of the year for Pro Football Weekly a year ago. Von Schaman, point after, makes it 21-0.
We take another look. Had some receivers open downfield if he did. The problem is, with all the injuries in the Steeler offensive line, they're having a problem with their pass protection. Bowser was in there free, and Bowser obviously was the one that caused that touchdown.
21 points for the Dolphins here in the second quarter, the most given up by the Steelers in a period this season. And young Mark Malone, 25 years of age, under fire here, replacing David Woodley this afternoon.
Well, he was in a battle for the starting position with Woodley going into the season. Woodley played very well in the preseason and was a starter. And as we said before, Woodley was really the glue that was holding all the injuries and all the wide receivers, everybody together. Woodley is out now with a slight concussion. I don't know if he can come back in the second half, but they certainly look like they need him.
Spencer coming out for Pittsburgh. Across the 20 to the 24, and a fumble and a pileup. And Pittsburgh retains possession over there. Jackie
hasn't played very well. It's been a little bit of a disappointment for the Steelers. Last year he came in, they thought he was a big play person. He's had some injuries, and now he's kind of lost his confidence. He had a good game last weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals, trying to get him in there a little bit more now because they know that he can score. They get him the football from anywhere.
Second down and 1. 1 minute to play in this first half. Malone goes to the far sideline, and it is complete. John Stallworth making the catch. First down. Langford 44 on the tackle. So Stallworth gets a little closer to the Pittsburgh all-time receiving record, but I'm sure he'd rather get some points on the board more than anything.
He certainly would, and he had an injury last year. He's come back and playing well. As we look at Woody Bennett getting a little equipment repair there.
That's that new vest-type protective gear underneath they're wearing.
Protects the hip area that from hip pointers. It protects the lower back and a little added protection on top of the shoulders.
Only Pittsburgh's third first down of the first half. Let's remind you that coming up after this one, some of you will see Franco Harris, the former Steeler. Seahawks battle the world champion Raiders. Others will see the Chargers take on the Packers, the Oilers, and the Bengals. So stay with us this afternoon for the second game of the doubleheader here on NBC. 21-0. The Dolphins. 48 seconds remaining to be played in this first half. Don Shula's record, 231 victories, 91 losses, 6 ties coming into today's game. Best record of any of the active NFL coaches.
You know he's got to be pleased at the situation here. The Dolphins, the last 3 times they were here, have lost to the Steelers. So I'm sure he's very happy at this point.
First down from the 37. Malone's got a man at the 42, lost the football, picks it back up. That's Wayne Capers, the second-year man from Kansas. They like him. He's kind of in the Stallworth mold, and you folks in the Miami area will remember that he played at South Miami High School.
There's a couple of them playing against the Dolphins from that area.
Sure. A throw over the middle, complete at the 47-yard line to Stallworth. And that is his third catch of the afternoon. That ties Stallworth with Lynn Swann as the Steelers' all-time leading receiver. 336 catches. He needs 4 coming into today's game. Stallworth, who played at Alabama A&M. Born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Of course, he might be more effective today if Lewis Lips was in the lineup with him.
No question about that, Jay. And talking with Woodley yesterday, he said that Stallworth has really been a big help to himself, getting in and knowing the system. He's always someone that's going to be getting open. If you need to look downfield and find an open receiver, Stallworth will be there. Woodley said he's a big Nat Moore, and you got to know Nat Moore. Nat is a very intelligent receiver, knows where to get open and how to get open. Woodley was having a good year, calling his own plays for the first time, and I don't think there are many quarterbacks in the National Football League anymore that are calling their own plays. I think just Jim Plunkett at the Raiders and Woodley are the only 2.
Well, it'll be interesting, of course, for us to see whether he can come back in the second half. Malone is 7 out of 13. Third and 10 at the 48. Malone down the sideline and incomplete. Well, a couple of people had a chance to catch that one. It was intended for Ouija Thompson, number 87. And Ouija almost came up with it. Judson, 49, and Blackwood, 47, were also there along with Kozlowski, number 40.
There was a lot of people around that football. As we look at the protection, this ball at first should have been intercepted, and then it should have been caught. Right here it should have been intercepted. Now it should have been caught. Pops it up in the air, and now it should have been intercepted again.
Oh, boy.
Ouija Thompson. Somebody's got to come up with a big play for the Steelers.
Second down and 10 from the 48 with 6 seconds left to go in this first half. Everybody's way, way back for Miami as this one is thrown up, and there are more Dolphins back there than anybody else as they were going for Ouija Thompson again. And the first half comes to an end. Don Shula's Dolphins lead it here 21-0 at halftime. Coming up, NFL 84. The scores and highlights for this afternoon's action. Miami leads it 21-0 at the end of the first half.
Those of you who have been watching the Miami-Pittsburgh and the Denver-Detroit games, the big story in the NFL today involves Walter Payton. At Soldier Field in Chicago, the Bears lead the Saints 13-7, courtesy of Payton's one-yard touchdown run late in the first half. Payton carried 15 times in the half for 64 yards. He needs 3 to pass Jim Brown, could get it on his first carry of the third quarter. The Bears in front by 6 at halftime. In the game many of you are watching, the Dolphins appear on their way to a record of 6-0. They have knocked David Woodley, the Steeler quarterback, out of the game. He's been replaced by Mark Malone. It's a homecoming for Dan Marino, the Dolphin quarterback who started in his collegiate days at Pittsburgh. He's thrown 2 touchdown passes in the first half. This one to Bruce Hardy covering 3 yards, his 16th of the season. Now here's number 17. He leads the NFL in this category, of course. This will cover some 34 yards to another Dolphin tight end, Joe Rose. Then later in the first half, Bob Baumhauer, the defensive tackle, picked up a fumble, brought it back 30 yards for a touchdown. That's where they stand, 21-0 in favor of Miami. At halftime at the Silverdome in Pontiac, the Broncos lead the Lions 21-7. Dan Reeves' team already led it 7-0 when this play occurred. Billy Sims carrying for the Lions. You see he has trouble finding the handle. Then it's knocked loose by this hit from cornerback Louis Wright, right into the hands of defensive lineman Rulon Jones. He rumbles into the end zone, and it's 14-0 in favor of the Broncos. The Lions cut their deficit in half on this bootleg run by Gary Danielson. He'll fake the handoff, take it left, spin away from a tackler, and it was 14-7. But later, John Elway threw 42 yards to Steve Watson for a Bronco TD. That makes it 21-7 at the half. Halftime in Dallas, Raphael Septien just connected from 37 yards out in the closing seconds, brings the Cowboys to within a point of the Cardinals, who lead it by a score of 14-13. Big test for St. Louis, a good team that plays in a division which includes the Redskins and Cowboys. They were 0-4 against those two clubs a year ago. Bill?
That's right. Well, Jets in Kansas City, a couple of 3-2 teams, and this figured to be a day when the quarterbacks would have to throw under pressure. If you remember last week, the Chiefs sacked Paul McDonald 11 times, but so far the Jets have protected Pat Ryan. Joe Walton's made several changes on defense. He looked on as Kansas City took the lead on 3 Nick Lowry field goals, one of which was set up by this 25-yard run by Theodis Brown. Brown over 70 yards in the first half. In the second quarter, the Jets were driving, but Pat Ryan was intercepted going for the bomb by number 31, Kevin Ross. The Jets scored just before halftime after a Theodis Brown fumble. Tony Page went over from the 1. The Jets have been outplayed, but they lead it 10-9 at the half. New England and Cleveland, when these teams met a year ago, the Browns shut out the Patriots 30-0, and so far the Browns defense has kept the Patriots out of the end zone. 3 Matt Barr field goals, the story in Cleveland, 9-3. Washington and Indianapolis, the Redskins have won 3 straight. They're clicking on all phases on offense. John Riggins has gained 86 yards. Joe Theismann has thrown 3 touchdown passes to Art Monk of 10, 47, and 16 yards. Theismann over 200 yards in the first half. Minnesota and Tampa Bay, a Central Division battle. Vikings didn't score a touchdown last week. They have 3 today, but they're all tied up as James Wilder has scored on an 11-yard run in the second quarter. It's 21-21 at Tampa Stadium. Philadelphia and Buffalo. The Bills have struggled. They've lost 7 straight, going back to 2 games last year, and they're losing today 17-10 at Rich Stadium. Bob?
All right, Bill, thanks very much. Bill McAtee mentioned the 86 yards gained by John Riggins today at the Hoosier Dome for the Redskins. If he can gain a total of 118, he needs 34 more. He'll pass a milestone of his own this afternoon. He'll become the 5th player in NFL history to go over 10,000 yards. We'll be back following these messages and a word from your local station.
At Longchamp, and it was held today a mile and a half over deep turf, a true championship test. And let's go to Peter O'Sullivan's stretch call.
As they swing for home now, it's Strawberry Road who's coming to take it up for Australia. Strawberry Road is in the lead, being pressed by Sagas and Issa Mata. Then on the far side, Esprit de Nord, unleashing a run towards the stand side. It's Sun Princess being chased by Time Chana, but it's Sagas who's coming to challenge Strawberry Road, with Northern Trick putting in a tremendous run. Sagas has come to take it up to Issa Mata. It's Sagas who
interesting. This race has belonged to fillies for the last 5 years. Last year, it belonged to the horse of the world all along. Well, today, a colt won at Sagas, but All Along stable isn't too happy. She ran third, and Sagas is her stablemate. We hope we'll see one or both of them at the Breeders' Cup November 10th, Bob.
Axe, you, of course, had a $2 ticket on Sagas today, right?
It was a 40-franc Jubilee ticket, actually. That's what they call it over there.
All right, Axe, thanks very much. Stay with us now as NFL 84 halftime activities will continue following these messages.
Does this change the keys to the game?
Well, I think the keys of the game, Dan Marino has certainly been winning so far. I think the Pittsburgh defense still has to make some big plays in order for Pittsburgh to get back in this ball game. With Woodley being out, I don't think their offense is strong enough without the help of their defense.
Both of these clubs have had their share of injuries, but it's obvious now, of course, with Woodley out of the game and with the other problems that they have, that the Steelers really have their hands full.
Well, they do. They have their hands full, and Malone can get him going if he gets something, but he's not working with a full deck. He doesn't have his receivers, his full complement of receivers. His offensive line has had some problems today, so it's going to be very tough without that big play defense that we said at the top of the game. And they've had one interception, Charlie, but Jay, but they have not sacked the quarterback.
Well, and of course, as we look at Dan Marino, all of us at NBC congratulate Walter Payton as he has broken Jim Brown's all-time National Football League rushing record today. And there it is, Walter Payton, a fine, fine man and an outstanding football player, 12,317. Jim Brown and Franco Harris now behind.
No question about it. Walter Payton, one of the best, and he deserves to be up there.
Just get word now that Woodley will not play for the remainder of the afternoon. Again, it was a concussion if you joined us late. Slight concussion. You've been through those, and as you mentioned earlier, it can be a problem for 15 minutes, for 40 minutes, for a day and a half.
As we take a look at the halftime stats, it's very true. He probably can't recall what the plays are, maybe even what the score is. So as we look at this, the thing that jumps out at you is 155 yards passing in the first half for Marino against a team that is very aggressive. Only one turnover, one interception, of course, like we said, no sacks, and that's what the Steeler defense has been living on.
That Baumhauer touchdown is his second NFL touchdown. He had one at Cincinnati in '78, and it's the first time that a Dolphin on defense has returned a play for a touchdown since Kozlowski did it back in '81. Oh, it's 21-0 as Von Schaman kicks off. And down at the 5-yard line, that's Todd Spencer coming out at the 20, 25, breaks it at the 30, and is spun out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Spencer finally stopped by Joe Carter, number 23, a 27-yard return.
Number 11 is Jim Jensen, and this is why you don't put quarterbacks on kickoff returns. Sometimes they do well, and sometimes they don't. He gets down, plays off of his blocker well, but then if he gets an opportunity to make the tackle, let's see, whoops, nope, now he tackles like a quarterback.
First and 10 from the 32-yard line as they announce to the crowd that David Woodley will not play anymore this afternoon. Malone throws, it's complete at the 36-yard line to Ouija Thompson. Let's go to New York, NFL 84 in this update.
All right, Jay, as you mentioned moments ago, the chase is over for Walter Payton. A 6-yard carry, a sweep to the left. His second carry of the third quarter of the game at Soldier Field between the Bears and the Saints is what did it. Took him past Jim Brown's record of 12,312 yards gained that had stood since 1965. Jay?
Casas, we'll look forward to your pregame shows on the upcoming World Series 1984, too. Second down, along 5, and they go with Ehrenberg. Ehrenberg hasn't been able to get on track today. Started today with 226 yards and a 3.5 average. A rookie out of Colgate who set all kinds of records there, surpassing Mark Van Egan and Marv Hubbard. He's only 4 for 9 this afternoon. Brzezinski, 59, made the tackle, and it'll be third down and 4.
Brzezinski's been playing very well for the Dolphins too, Jay, and talking with some of the Steelers yesterday and their offensive coaches, they said Brzezinski is playing the best football they've ever seen him play. There they are out there. You see all the Dolphins threatening blitz to confuse the quarterback.
A throw downfield and an interception.
to you by Mercury, cars that have kept up with the times as much as you have. By the National Guard and the Reserves, where you can serve your country while you live at home. And by NCR, who bring you a better personal computer.
With Bob Greasy, Jay Randolph here at Three Rivers in Pittsburgh. 21-0 Dolphins, 13:21 to go in the third quarter. Dan Marino back home in the Steel City. In motion, Clayton to the near sideline. Handoff going to Bennett. Bennett bounces across the 25. Robin Cole, number 56, made the tackle.
Jay, on that last interception, you see all the Dolphins up here, all 11 of them, but this man right here is a safety. He's going to back out and double coverage on the outside man. Take a look. It looks like it's going to be a blitz, but then it's not. See the double coverage coming? Malone throws the ball anyway. Judson sees it all the way and makes the completion. The Dolphin defense are trying to confuse the quarterbacks for the Steelers and doing a good job of it.
Second down and 5. Nathan, number 22. David Little, number 50, on the tackle. And the gain is to the 29-yard line, where it'll be third down and 3.
David Little is doing very well, filling in for Jack Lambert. Talking with the defensive coaches, Tony Dungy, the defensive coordinator, says that Little is the toughest linebacker against the run in the National Football League. Not bad. The younger brother, David, of Larry Little, and he used to protect for me a little bit in Miami.
Of course, he grew up down in Florida, went to school at Jackson High. Over the middle, thrown behind the intended receiver, Jimmy Cephalo, at the 45-yard line, and it'll be punting time for Miami. Cephalo, who played at Penn State, the Nittany Lions of Joe Paterno, just getting by Maryland yesterday. As a kid growing up in Waterloo, Iowa, Reggie Roby practiced kicking a football back and forth over his house. And he still holds the NCAA record for the single season average, 49.8 yards per punt.
He could have lived in an apartment house and kicked it over as high as he kicked some of these.
High rise, right. Roby set to punt. Woods downfield. And this is a boomer. Woods looking at it. Takes it at the 20. Falls down as he got across the 25. The return to the 27-yard line. A 50-yard punt. 6-yard return. Vince Heflin, number 88 on the specialty unit, made the stop. 11:49 left to play here in the third quarter. To 9 as they have come back in the third quarter. And New England and Cleveland. Cleveland up on top 16-3 in that one, third quarter. Here it's 21-0. Miami with the lead. Pittsburgh with the football. Malone down the sideline. Stallworth. The catch made at the 37-yard line. Well, you saw a great veteran hang on and stay in bounds. The official was right there. 35 yards on the play. Stallworth now the all-time Steeler reception leader.
And one of the great ones, too, to ever play the game. As we see, 337. Nice round of applause, appreciative fans, but that was the same play-action trap pass that we saw in our scouting report going into the game. Gets him back, good field position. Now, I think they're going to give him the ball, Jay.
And they're going to take the ball out of play. Here it comes, and Jerry Markwright going to take it over to Stallworth. They're on their feet. They love their football, and of course they'd have to love this gentleman over the years. What a tremendous performer he has been.
Just a class player as we see him released to the outside. Now Judson has help deep, but Malone's going to get him the ball before the deep help gets over there. Both feet were inbounds. Good call by the official over there, the back judge, Tom Kelleher.
First down and 10 for the Steelers at the 37-yard line of the Dolphins. This telecast presented by authority of the NFL. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express consent of the Steelers and the NFL is prohibited.
speed and the quickness that they would really like for that position, but he has been the only one that has been around with the injuries to Abercrombie.
Ehrenberg again in trouble, and he got a couple of yards strictly on his own as he cut it back against the grain. He has carried the ball now 6 times for 15 yards. Ernie Roan, 55, and Bob Brzezinski, 59, made the stop. Ehrenberg's just 5'10", 200-pounder. He had 584 total yards so far this season. Came out of that program at Colgate where he was their all-time leading rusher.
Let's see if the Dolphins try and intimidate Malone. No, they're going to play back this time.
And the ball batted down. Looked like he might have been trying to get it to Weegee Thompson. Ball batted down in the line.
Jay, that's the difference between it. Here we'll take another look. Quarterback with a quick release, this wouldn't happen to, but a slower release. The defense sees the arm coming. Now they can get their hand up. Now a quick release, you wouldn't be able to do that. The ball would already be past the defensive line and on its way to the receiver.
Going to try a field goal. It'll be a 49-yarder. Gary Anderson, the third-year man from Syracuse. He's made 19 of 21 in his career here at Three Rivers Stadium. And it's on the way, and it is no good. Wide to the right. Looked like it had enough distance. Anderson.
It's a fine kicker, as you say, Jay. He just had enough leg. In fact, he was in the Pro Bowl last year, one of the outstanding kickers last year.
Here's the miss by Anderson as the Steelers miss an opportunity to score. 21-0. Marino using play action, throwing long downfield, penalty marker down, and the ball dropped by Mark Clayton.
He was interfered with, Jay, about 15, 20 yards down the field. Flag was thrown right there.
Woodruff and Shell were down that sideline. Here's Woodruff, number 49. Call goes against Woodruff. Woodruff is going to school here at night in the Pittsburgh area, trying to get a law degree at Duquesne. You got to admire that.
They took him to school right there. They played a little play action, and they'd hit Clayton a couple times earlier on a down and out. That time, same play action, a down and out, and then he turned it up, and Woodruff had to grab onto him to prevent the touchdown.
79 yards in penalties against the Steelers. Nat Moore in the game, number 89 for Miami. Hand off to Woody Bennett. Bennett inside the 45 down to the 43-yard line. David Little, number 50, makes the tackle. We'll pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
And this is your hometown station, WSVN, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Along with Bob Greasy, Jay Randolph, Three Rivers Stadium. That man has set a new receiving record for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Stallworth now leading Swan in the receiving department. Miami was second and 5 at the 43-yard line. Miami up 21-0. Woody Bennett trying to get outside to the 40-yard line. He's short of the first down. Upended by Sam Washington, number 41. Bob, we get some bad news about the fine tight end of the Dolphins, Joe Rose, who caught the touchdown pass, separated left shoulder.
That's too bad.
Shula's had his hands full with some injuries. Both these coaches have, and of course, as you well know, that's part of this game.
It certainly is, and that's going to be a factor in the upcoming games for the Dolphins, because as the teams continue to try and stop Duper and Clayton on the outside, that threat of Rose up the middle is a big one for the Dolphins.
Third down and 2 at the 40-yard line. Bennett and Johnson are in the backfield. Johnson's got the first down. The big guy from Ohio State. They say he's got his weight down to 265. He cracked it in there.
He's working out twice a day, running in the morning, and they said it may even have it down further than that. As we take a look, watch the line surge coming off the ball. Tough running. It's going to be close. They're going to measure it.
I think he got this one. Yep. Chuck Knoll. Took over here in 69.
about the big play Steeler defense, and they can be very aggressive and very intimidating and very physical. And they're like a feeding frenzy of piranhas when they're going well and they're intercepting and they're sacking. But when they are not, I think they tend to get frustrated, and I see that a little bit now. The Dolphins are running through them, which no team has done this year, and I think they're a little bit frustrated that they haven't been more successful.
That's Clayton coming in motion to the near sideline. Nathan cutting it back against the grain inside the 20, down to the 18-yard line. Let's go back to New York now, NFL 84 in this update.
All right, Jay, in Cleveland, the Patriots have finally gotten into the end zone against the Browns. Tony Eason, 42 yards to Stephon Starring, second-year man out of McNeese State in Louisiana. He's all alone. It is 16-10, though. The Browns still lead it.
All right, Bill, here in Pittsburgh, Miami 21, the Steelers nothing, and second down and 7 at the 19-yard line for Miami. 7 minutes to play in the third quarter. That's Nat Moore in motion. Marino sets up and throws for Moore. Incomplete. And a fine play by Rick Woods. He batted it away at the last minute. Woods has kind of been in the doghouse here. He was demoted. The third-year man from Boise State, number 22. He's quite a hitter. Has 2 interceptions on the year. Made a nice play there.
When he came up with the Steelers, they had high hopes for him. He really played well as a punt returner and then cracked the defense as a weak safety, as you were saying, Jay, and then had a couple of bad games and made full circle. Now he's back at punt returner.
Pretty well documented that Marino was only the 6th quarterback taken in the 83 draft. Few people know that he was also the 4th-round pick of the Kansas City Royals. This one is incomplete. Jensen couldn't quite hold on at the goal line as Merriweather, number 57, was there with the coverage, along with Donnie Shell.
Were it not for the injury to Joe Rose, he would be right here. Now you've got Jensen filling in. Jensen's going to go straight up the field, and he's going to try to hit him right in here. But let's take a look. Jensen is not that wide open, but let's take a look and see. The throw seems to be pretty good. You got to wonder if Rose would have been in there. He beat Merriweather 57 once before, if he would have done it again.
37-yard field goal attempt. Uwe von Schaman out of Oklahoma with Strock holding. On the way, and it is good. So the Dolphins increase their lead here in the third quarter. 6:45 remaining to be played. 24-0 Miami. And Schaman to kick off. After the field goal, it's 24-0. Spencer back deep to receive it. And it goes out of the end zone. Will come out to the 20-yard line. We mentioned that the fine tight end of the Dolphins, Joe Rose, the 5-year man from California, separated shoulder this afternoon on that play right there for a touchdown.
See him hitting the turf, and that is one of the problems with the artificial surface. It's very hard, and nobody hit him. He just went down on his shoulder and was separated. Hope he won't be out too long.
Reminder, most of you will be seeing the Seattle Seahawks, the world champion Raiders, coming up a little later on. Others will watch the Chargers and the Packers and the Oilers, the Bengals. More football coming up later this afternoon here on NBC. 24-0. Mark Malone playing for the injured David Woodley, throwing and completing it. That's the tight end, Kolodziejski. Kolodziejski crossed the 30 and out of bounds at the 34-yard line. 14-yard pickup by this rookie, number 2 draft choice. McNeil, 28. Kozlowski, 40 on the tackle.
The 2 linebackers right here are going to drop back into their coverage. Kolodziejski is here. He's just going to get in the middle of them, and it's a good read by the quarterback. Right inside, hooks around him. Good read, get him the ball on time. Kolodziejski says, I got it, let me get some running room.
And the Steelers have a first down. Ehrenberg jumped as he got across the 35-yard line. Making the play, Kozlowski, number 40. Kozlowski now in there at strong safety. Ehrenberg hasn't really been able to do much today.
Kozlowski, number 40, has been their first first back in, they're nickel back, and he is playing because Glenn Blackwood limped off the field a little bit earlier. Jay, we'll see if we can get a report. But Kozlowski is in there playing, and they don't lose a lot when Koz is in there. He's a very good defensive back.
Played in Colorado. Second down and 7. Malone throwing down the sideline for Stallworth, and a fine defensive play. Number 49, William Judson, who's had an outstanding afternoon doing the job.
Well, he's getting a lot of attention, a lot of activity, a lot of balls thrown his way because they have so much respect for McNeil on the other side. Little play action. Stallworth is going just up the sideline, and Judson sees it and gets it knocked down. Good coverage.
Malone is 10 out of 21, 116 yards. He's thrown an interception. I mentioned this fella, he really has the size and strength and the ability.
There you see the Dolphins, all 11 up, making the blitz, see if they come.
3rd and 7. They drop off. He throws and completes it for the first down. That's Wayne Capers, the second-year man out of Kansas. McNeil, 28 on the coverage. Well, they backed off the blitz.
And that is really disconcerting for a quarterback, Jay, because when you're up there, you got to say, okay, if they all come, I can't block it. So if you check off, sometimes they'll check off. So what you got to do is you got to have a sincere audible. You got to be up there, and you got to make them think you're checking, so they'll get out of it, and you just stay in the play that you had called. But it's a guessing game going on up there for the quarterback.
Saw the Cardinals going ahead of Dallas down in Big D. Those two teams always seem to play some close ones. Here's one on the near side to Stallworth. He took it at the 42-yard line. Stallworth high in the air in front of Judson, made an excellent catch.
Stallworth is the man they have to go to get him back in this ball game. With all the injuries and the retirement of so many of these great Steeler offensive players, they have to turn to new players. Stallworth is a holdover and is playing very well, but they don't have Frankel, they don't have Bradshaw, they don't have Swan. Rocky is not around anymore, so they have to look to new players, and Stallworth is the leader of that group.
He's headed for his 19th career 100-yard game. Pitch back coming to Abercrombie. Abercrombie at the 40. Woo! Did he get hit as he got to the 37-yard line? That was Kozlowski coming up to make the play. Bring you up to date on a few more scores this afternoon. It is now 24-13, the Cardinals down in Dallas, third quarter. The Jets 17-9 over Kansas City in the fourth quarter. Cleveland has a 6-point advantage over New England. The Redskins are doing it to Indianapolis this afternoon. Theismann's just thrown another touchdown pass to McGrath, an 11-yarder. 24-0 here, Dolphins. Abercrombie and Fields are in the backfield on second down. Malone steps up and throws, and dropped by Kolodziejski, the tight end. And you see Malone trying to fire his club up just a little bit. They've had a missed field goal by the Steelers in this third period. They have moved the ball a little bit better.
That's another quarterback on the roster, Scott Campbell, number 10 out of Purdue.
I knew we'd have to get a shot at him.
Had a great career at Purdue.
He's from Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Hershey, and he's charting the plays. He's writing down the offensive play and then the defensive coverage so the quarterback can check it out when he comes over on the sideline.
Malone, 12 out of 24. Quick pitch coming. And on the move. That's Fields. Fields piled up short of the first down. Very fine play by Bud Brown, the rookie from Southern Mississippi. Might have had a face mask, but there's no call. Hear them talking about the face mask. Let's watch Ehrenberg blocking in there.
Bumps Bowser 56 and then goes for Thomas. Great job by the rookie Ehrenberg. That's why he's in there, Jay. He is intelligent, even though he's a rookie, and he doesn't make mistakes. He got good blocker, good receiver, gets the job done.
4th and 2, 9th play of this drive. Steelers need a couple for the first down to keep it alive. A little draw, they get it and more. That's Frank Pollard all the way down to the 24-yard line. Brown made the tackle. Well, they fooled him with a delay.
4th and 2, you wouldn't expect a little delay a passing situation. The Dolphins reading pass, good blocking. 62 is Elkin. Good running by Pollard just to get the first down.
First down at the 24-yard line. 2 minutes, 25 seconds to go in the third quarter.
Shoes wasn't too happy with the Rodell Thomas, as you could tell from that look on his face.
Malone swings it out. Abercrombie down at the 20. Abercrombie hit there by number 55. Ernie Roan got some help from Don McNeil, 28. Roan out of Little Henderson, state of Kentucky, a 9-year veteran. You know, he was ill much of last year, had pneumonia, a lot of problems, had to get himself back together.
He did. That's very true. As we look at Chuck, no. But Ernie Roan coming back this year had tore a quadricep muscle in his leg, Jay, and really is just getting back into playing shape. He didn't start last week, but he's in there this week because of his experience. He's a cool, level-headed defensive linebacker.
Second down and 6. Abercrombie on the run. Gets about a yard. Ernie Roan doing a good job of stringing it out.
Jay, I feel like if this Pittsburgh offense is really going to get on track, not only today but this year, they need Woodley in there, they need Abercrombie in there, gives them the big play, and they've got to have a good year out of John Stallworth.
Well, and without Cunningham in there, the fine tight end, without their tremendously talented rookie Lips, it's a problem for them on offense.
Exactly right. As we take a look at the current drive.
And third down and 5 at the 19-yard line. Stallworth comes in motion to the near sideline. Malone swings it out to Abercrombie, and Abercrombie couldn't get much. Paul Langford, number 44 in the secondary, coming up for the Dolphins to make the tackle. He's an improving player out of Penn State. There's Langford.
I think that play there, Jay, is an indication of why Abercrombie hasn't been playing a lot more. I feel like he was close enough to that first down marker. He only needed 3 or 4 yards. He should have lowered his head and just went for it. He tried to get fancy, tried to sidestep, and was tackled. Now it's 4th and 4.
I think a lot of the fans would agree with you here at Three Rivers. 4th down and 4 at the 18. They're going to go. And there's the draw, and they've got it, and they've got the ball at the 1-yard line. Frank Pollard. I had to wait to see if they were going to give him the touchdown or not. He got 17 yards out of it.
I think they should have given it to him, Jay. I tell you, the last 4th and 2, they ran a draw. Why not? If it was good once, why not do it again? 4th and 4. Take a look from the ground level. 71 as Voorhees comes around and falls in front of the linebacker. You break the plane, you're in. I don't know. I guess he was just short.
Pollard now with 34 yards on 6 carries. And 3 seconds left to play in the third quarter. The Dolphins have asked for a timeout. So we'll take timeout. The Steelers knocking on the door, but the Dolphins leading 24-0. The sidelines.
That's Joe Rose.
Joe Rose, who has the separated shoulder out of this one. It's the longest drive by either team today. 13 plays, 79 yards. First and goal to go at the 1. Pollard and Abercrombie in the backfield. Handoff going to Pollard. Touchdown Steelers. Well, it took them 3 quarters to get on the board, but this was a good drive by Pittsburgh.
They needed something offensively, Jay, to get them back going. Their offense has not been that productive today, and this will help them. Their defense can come up with some big plays, take the ball away, create some good field situations. They can get back in the game.
Well, you can hear it's a little rough down in there. Point after is good by Gary Anderson. And that is the end of the third quarter. The score, the Dolphins 24, the Steelers 7. We'll be right back after these messages. didn't see much of Woodley today. You coached him. And what did you think as he was in there today? I mean,
well, he's a fine young talent, Jay. He's got a strong arm, and he's got good mobility. Marino, on the other hand, I think Marino probably has the quickest release in the National Football League. The other thing he has is touch. He's got tremendous touch.
Colton Walker coming back now for Miami, and Walker returning it out to the 23-yard line. Let's go again to New York, NFL 84, and get an update.
All right, Jay, we have a good one going on in Cleveland as the Patriots have come roaring back against the Browns. This 24-yard pass from Tony Eason to Stephen Starring set up a touchdown as Tony Collins would score one play later. So it is now 17-16 Patriots.
And here, 24-7, Miami over Pittsburgh. Miami gets the football. We were talking with Bob a moment ago about Woodley. And, of course, Malone has come on. And we've got some thoughts, Bob, from you about Malone's play after Miami runs this play 1st and 10 from their own 24. Play action by Marino. Throwing and complete up the near sideline to Mark Duper. Duper knocked out of bounds by Washington. How about Malone's play since he's taken over?
I think he's played pretty well, Jay. He's hamstrung by the same thing that Woodley is, but I just don't think he has the mobility and the presence that David Woodley has. Since we've been up in Pittsburgh and talking with the coaches, everybody is very impressed with what Woodley has done since he has come into Pittsburgh. Before he was quiet and shy. He seems to be more settled in up here. He seems to be very happy with Pittsburgh and their offense.
Cooper now with 2 catches for 20 yards. First down at the 39-yard line. Bennett up over the 43 to the 44-yard line. Bennett hit by David Little, number 50.
Talking about Woodley, as we look at Malone, Jay even had a comment that he says, I think the trade worked out best for everybody because he seems to be happy up here with Chuck Noll. Chuck has been laid back. The whole organization, they come in, it's less businesslike than in Miami. And of course, Marino has done great things for the Dolphins.
The deal was for a number 3 and possible future considerations. Second down and 6. Marino steps up and throws. It is complete to Clayton. Clayton at the 30, down to the 25 to the 23-yard line. Mark Clayton. Oh, this fella can solid move with that football. Terry Eccles, number 94, made the tackle. 34-yard pickup. A look at it from the end zone.
I just don't see the intensity in that Steeler defense. They aren't a lot of time to throw. Clayton comes in, nobody near him, no tight coverage. It seems as though the defense is just kind of given up. They gave it their best shot, and now they're not aggressive. I don't see it.
At the 24-yard line, a first down. Dolphins leading it 24-7. That's Nat Moore going in motion. The handoff going to Woody Bennett, and he is wrapped up. Mike Merriweather, 57. Pete Willis, 93. They came across. They were on the move.
Take a look at the linebackers behind the line. Little blitz in there, 57 Merriweather. 93 Willis is free because the offensive lineman, Cleveland Green, picked up the linebacker that was blitzing, and Willis, 93, got in and made the tackle.
12:50 to play in this game. Duper goes wide to the right. Marino 15 out of 23. Last week he threw for 429 yards against the Cardinals. A new record. Slip, throws, complete. Duper at the 5-yard line goes down. Sam Washington had a hold of his jersey. Mark Clayton, excuse me, not Duper. That was Clayton for another fine catch, and they're going to have first and goal to go at the 5.
Clayton is just amazing, Jay. You know, Albert Dubinion was scouting at Louisville, University of Louisville, one of the Dolphins scouts, and he was there scouting somebody else. And he saw Mark Clayton running around, and he says, I think that guy might be able to play. Watch his feet. Tremendous feet, can run after he catches the ball. He sees that end zone, and he wants to get into the end zone.
Back live, first and goal. Tony Nathan, and Nathan went down right at the 1-yard line. Nathan's a little upset with himself. He thought he could have maybe held his balance just a bit longer and gotten in.
Watch the offensive line. offensive line. They have not been running well this year. They came in here against a tough Steeler defense, and they're doing very well running and protecting for Dan Marino.
And you see how far they have to go, and they've got the big man in there, Pete Johnson now with Woody Bennett. They give to Bennett, up and over. Woody Bennett scores for the Dolphins. Well, they came right back.
They came right back, and it was a good drive. They took the ball down on the ground and in the air and scored.
Bennett with 35 yards on 13 carries.
Eccles, 94, trying to go up over the top. Bennett had a little bit more of a head start.
Bennett diving over. Von Schamann with a point after. Von Schamann gets it up, and it is good. And the Dolphins now up 31-7. Dolphins next Sunday meet the Houston Oilers in the Orange Bowl. We'll be back with more from here in a moment. There behind big number 72.
Ronnie Lee. Backup offensive tackle that the Dolphins picked up. They had him originally, and then he was traded to Atlanta, and then they brought him back. And he's a very important man in their offensive scheme, because if any tackle gets hurt now, he'll be the man in there.
Von Schamann on the kickoff. Spencer coming up at the 3. He's at the 10, at the 15. Gets to the 20, trying to get outside, and is run out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Making the play for the Dolphins, Paul Langford, the cornerback, number 44. And we're going to take a timeout. We have 10 minutes and 59 seconds remaining to be played. Miami 31, Pittsburgh 7. Those of you watching this one in the Miami and Pittsburgh areas will continue to see our game. The rest of you are going to join the New York Jets game in Kansas City. Now to Marv Albert and John Brody. And back here at Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh with Bob Greasy. This is Jay Randolph, and we have 10:59 to play. The Dolphins in control of this one. Walter Payton gone over 100 yards today. A new NFL record, is 59th 100-yard game in his career. Here it is 31-7 the Dolphins. Pittsburgh first and 10 from the 26-yard line. Play action by Malone, and he throws it away.
I'd say that was accurate.
Yes, sir. Threw it way far away, didn't he?
Do that in the 5th row of the Dolphin players.
Look what the Cardinals are doing to the Cowboys. Neil Lomax has thrown 4 touchdown passes in that one. And the Jets are leading Kansas City 17-16, 4:42 left in the 4th quarter. Blackledge has just thrown a pass to Willie Scott for a Kansas City score. Here it is 31-7. The Dolphins going for 6-0 on the year. Abercrombie hit right along the line of scrimmage. Mike Charles, number 71, coming up to make the play. Charles playing for Beaucamper at the moment. There he is out of Syracuse, number 71. They say he's still growing. Chicago leads New Orleans 20-7. They're in the 4th quarter. And Philadelphia out in front of Buffalo 20-10. The Dolphins looking ahead to next week, playing at home against Houston. And Pittsburgh will play the 49ers at Candlestick Park. 49ers in action tomorrow night. This pass complete out to the 40-yard line as Ouija Thompson made the catch and Judson made the tackle. I think that's the first catch for Ouija Thompson this afternoon. He had 6 coming into today's game. Thompson, who played at Florida State, number 87.
Take a look at it from the end zone and the pass protection. Good protection, a lot of room to step up. That's nice when the offensive and defensive line kind of opens up. You can see as a quarterback it's very easy. Defensively, you don't want to open it up like that. You want to keep somebody up the middle in his face.
First down 10, 40-yard line. Steelers pitch back to Abercrombie. Abercrombie to
T.J. Dewey is in there, Jay. This is the first time he has had any extensive playing time. As we take a look in at linebacker, had knee surgery and shoulder surgery in the offseason. Just had a little practice during the week, but he needs this type of work to get back in the flow of things.
He had that injury in the playoff game against Seattle, the torn ligaments. Second down and 5 at the 45-yard line. Malone, double pumps, throws, and a fine catch is made by Thompson. Well, that's the kind of catch they told us he could make, an 18-yard pickup. McNeil on the tackle, number 28, as Ouija Thompson took it in. Today's game is brought to you by National Car Rental. When you rent a car for business or pleasure, you deserve national attention. By Holiday Inn Hotels. Holiday Inn is a better place to be. And by GTE, advancing technology in telecommunications and electrical products. With Bob Greasy, Jay Randolph, as we have 8 minutes to play here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers first and 10 at the 27. Again, Malone uses play action. He throws too tall. Intending for the tight end, the rookie, Chris Kolodziejski. Brudzinski, number 59, the linebacker outside, had the coverage over there. The Monday night syndrome, how about that? You played many a Monday night game, and the Steelers look very sharp here on Monday night, defeating Cincinnati, getting their record to 3-2.
I saw a statistic not long ago about teams and how the winning team on Monday night, how they fared the following week. And I think like 30% of the time they won, the rest of the time they lost. But being home is helpful.
On second and 10, Malone has time, and he overthrows John Stallworth. He's been a little high with the last couple of tosses. Coverage over there by Judson along with Lyle Blackwood. Well, this is quite an opportunity, of course, for Malone to get into the fray.
It sure is, and there are more things. Quarterbacks have to have the feel of the pocket. Sometimes you have to move around so you can see a little bit better, so you can avoid the rush, and you can't look at it. You just have to feel it. Slide one way or the other, and I don't think Malone has really gotten into the feel of it yet. He's thrown some good passes, but he's been off a little bit, throwing a little bit high.
He's got Capers in the lineup now. Number 80 set to the right side, third down and 10, and he's going for Capers, and it is incomplete. But Capers was in a little bit of a shoving match over there with McNeil, and there were some people, I think, that thought there might be a flag thrown, but I'm sure they would say it wasn't a catchable ball.
And I think Mark was one of them. I think he thought he could see better from that angle than the official back there in the end zone. But I used to feel the same way.
Yeah. Chuck Knoll. Chuck, who was a tackle and linebacker at Dayton University, and a very fine gourmet chef, incidentally.
Now, why would you mention that?
Well, just thought it might as well, huh? It's 4th and 10 for the Steelers. Over the middle, and it's complete. I don't think they got the first down, though. It's going to be very close. Pass to Stallworth. He was very close. Lyle Blackwood made the stop, and we'll wait and see. One of the Dolphins is shaken up. Kozlowski down at the 25-yard line. They're going to bring the sticks in from the far sideline and take the measurement as the Dolphins.
He is the backup strong safety, Jay. He is in there because of.
Looks like it might be a problem with the hip. Bob Lundy and Bill Davis, training corps for the Dolphins.
Dr. Virgin, Charlie Virgin, there looking at him. So we see the measurement.
Oh, they got it. Show this to you again, Stallworth. I didn't know if he had enough or not. I don't think he did either.
Webster 52 helping the protection. Well, he had to catch it past the first down because he didn't gain any yardage afterwards.
They brought him back upfield. So when we come back, the Steelers will have a first down at the 17-yard line. NBC Sports presents the 1984 World Series. Detroit, will they play the Cubs or the Padres? No matter. NBC Sports
backfield. They have speed on the corners, great coverage with Judson and McNeil, and very intelligent and pretty good speed in the Blackwood brothers. Everybody says they don't have speed. They do have speed, but they have this intelligence, and they can make big plays.
Second down and 10. Malone has time, steps up, now in trouble, goes down at the 23-yard line. Number 75, Doug Betters there. That's the second sack of the afternoon, third of the season. The Dolphins have done a very good job. One of the Dolphins shaken up at the 22-yard line. I believe that's Bowser. Bowser, the third-year linebacker from Duke.
Ernie Roan, 55, is covering the back, coming out of the backfield. That's where he's going. The entire middle opens up. Unfortunately, so does the pass protection, and Malone bites the dust.
I want to remind you to stay with us for the second half of our doubleheader this afternoon on NBC. Most of you will be seeing the Seahawks battle the world champion Raiders. Others will watch the Chargers take on the Packers. The Oilers play the Bengals. Coming up next on NBC Sports. It was 21-0 at halftime. 31-7 now, the Dolphins, with 7:08 remaining in this game. We mentioned the Dolphins will take on the Houston Oilers at the Orange Bowl at 1 o'clock Eastern Time next Sunday. Houston playing at Cincinnati later today, and the Steelers will play the 49ers at Candlestick Park out in the city by the bay. San Francisco at the Giants tomorrow night in the Monday night game.
Take a look at the games coming up, and of course the Dolphins, this was a big stop for them. A tough Steeler team coming in here. Next week they're at home against Houston. Then they have to go to New England, where they've always had trouble going to New England and trying to beat the Patriots in New England.
I never shall forget, you and I were there for the snowplow game. You remember that?
The infamous snowplow game.
What a sight that was.
Jay, we have, as we look at the sideline, we have, the assistant coaches around the National Football League do all the work and get none of the credit. The head coach gets the credit, the players get the credit. But if something doesn't go right, I'll guarantee you the assistant coaches are the ones that hear about it all week. And we have two of the youngest assistant coaches in the National Football League here today. One is David Shula, who has done an outstanding job working with Mark Duper, Mark Clayton, and Dan Marino during the week, film study, alert for the checkoffs, that type of stuff, and David has done an outstanding job. And also Tony Dungy. Dungy is the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's 28 years old. Shula is 25. Shula is the youngest. Dungy is the youngest defensive coordinator in the league, and he came in to the Steelers when he was a rookie. They drafted him out of Minnesota as a quarterback. They drafted him, played him as a defensive back, and they said right from the start they knew he had potential. Not as a defensive back, but as a defensive backfield coach. So they must have saw something. Very intelligent young man's done a good job with the Steelers.
The injury to Bowser is the right shoulder. This is the 12th play of the drive. 3rd and 16 at the 23-yard line. Malone on the run, gets away, throws, and incomplete. Almost intercepted. Don McNeil almost came up with that one as it was intended for Wayne Capers.
There weren't many people open downfield. As we'll take a look, he's trying to get the ball to Capers right here. Capers will just go down and break to the outside. The other receiver, nobody is open. Only 3 receivers out on the pattern. Good coverage by the Dolphins. 3 receivers downfield zone. Everybody's dropping straight back. Defensive back cuts in front just at the very end to try and make the interception.
Pittsburgh having to do some gambling, 3 for 3 on 4th downs today. And here is 4th and 16. Malone throws, and it is complete. Wayne Capers has the first down inside the 5-yard line. Well, they did it again on 4th down. He beat Lyle Blackwood, the free safety, and they have 1st and goal to go just inside the 5-yard line.
Take a look at the snap. I don't know what it is about about fourth downs, but it's like it's now or never. So everybody blocks a little harder. Everybody tries to get open a little better. Quarterback is more relaxed. 3 fourth down situations, 3 first downs.
Here are the Steelers. First and goal to go. Ehrenberg 24, Pollard 30. Behind Mark Malone, subbing for David Woodley. Problem there. Well, you know, you and I were talking last night about forgetting the snap count. I'm not so sure that's what happened there, but somebody had a miscue.
It happens, Jay. There's no doubt about it. When you see the quarterback back out before anybody else moves, you know that's what happens. A lot of people don't understand it, but
all kinds of stuff going on, but no ball back there.
Well, the ball was snapped, and Webster, 52, snapped it.
Yeah.
Now, he probably forgot the snap count. People don't think that the center or anybody can forget the snap count. It happened to me once, and it happened in a very embarrassing situation.
I want you to tell it right after this play. It's a funny story. We were chatting about it last night. On 2nd and 11, Malone, lots of time. Now he goes down. And Dewey, number 77, along with Betters in there to make the play. Now tell that story about the snap count.
Well, we're in the Super Bowl playing the Minnesota Vikings in like 1973 or whenever. The opening drive, we're down on the 4-yard line, and there's a lot of scouting goes on. We knew what they tried to do. Shula was there at the time. I said there's 2 defenses they use on the goal line. The play is Brown left 18 straight on 1. Well, I got up and I was thinking about what I was going to check to if they were in the other defense. As it turns out, they were in the defense that was good for the play I had called. Didn't have to check, but I forgot what the snap count was.
And you scored a touchdown on the play. 3rd and 16. Malone throwing into heavy traffic, almost intercepted. Number 44, Paul Langford, along with Robert Sowell. They were there. Pass appeared to be intended for either Capers or Stallworth. They were both in the zone.
They certainly were. It was good coverage. Getting back to what I was talking about, but I forgot. There's Chuck Studley, the defensive coordinator. Forgot the snap count, so I turned around and asked Zonka behind me, and I said, "Zonka, what's it on?" He says, "It's on 2." Well, he said it so loud, everybody heard, and I called for the ball, and Langer knew what the snap count was. He was our center, and on 1 he snapped it. Well, nobody moved. The Vikings didn't move. They thought it was on 2 also.
And you all waltzed in for 6.
Turn around, hand it to Zonka, went right in.
4th and 16. Malone trying to do it again, and a great play made right in front of the intended receiver by Lyle Blackwood. They were trying to get it to Capers. Blackwood just got a hand on it, or Capers would have had the touchdown. Oh, the ball's going to go back over to the Miami Dolphins.
He could have got the ball a little bit higher. They're in zone coverage. Everybody's covering an area. A little bit higher. You see where he's throwing it to Capers. Just needed to get it over the top and in front of the other ones. That's a tough throw. We'll be right back after this message.
Up a game on Pittsburgh and some other clubs, of course, today as they hold on to win by 1. The handoff going to Pete Johnson. Johnson getting it across the 15 to the 17-yard line. Don Strock is now quarterbacking the Miami Dolphins. Strock, of course, the man they call the relief pitcher on this team.
And you know, that tag fits him very well because when you see him on the sideline, he has that baseball jacket on and he has a baseball cap on. Now, Danny Boy, homecoming, as we said, going into it.
He's pretty happy.
It's Danny's day, and they didn't steal it away from him. He got the Steelers, and it was a big homecoming for Dan Marino.
2nd down and 9. Handoff going up the middle to Pete Johnson. They're running the clock at this point with 3:50 to play in the game and leading it 31-7. I want to thank the crew in the booth today, our statistician Ross Schneiderman and our spotters Jim Fogarty and Jim McGlinley. All the crew here today. Sights and sounds of this one.
See the Dolphin game so far and all the points they've scored. They haven't been under 21 points. They really put the points on the board.
3rd down and 4 at the 22-yard line.
action in there at right tackle. Goodman making a good play on it, but I'm just so impressed with Dan Marino, Jay, and seeing him. He's done things that you're not supposed to do in your first and second year in the NFL. The poise that he has, the touch, the arm, the awareness, the charisma for such a young player, it's just amazing.
Roby ready to boot it. Rick Woods downfield. Woods takes it, fumbles it at the 33-yard line, and the Dolphins have it. Coming up with it, number 45, Robert Sowell. We've got a penalty marker way back downfield. It was a 43-yard punt.
And Chuck No doesn't look very happy at all.
Illegal procedure.
Against the Dolphins, so it'll come back. But Chuck, you know, when it rains, it pours. Everything is going against him, and Rick Woods, the punt returner, is not been in the good graces, has been in the doghouse. Chuck Noll the last couple of weeks, and now has an opportunity to do something and drops the ball and further gets him in trouble.
Chuck and his coaches.
55, offense, 4th down.
The call going against number 55, Ernie Roan. Chuck and his coaches are going to have to regroup as his Steelers go to 3-3 and they head out to San Francisco. And of course, Coach Shula's got to feel very good. He'll be at home next week against Houston.
They're rolling. They got their freight train rolling, and they've got plenty of coal to throw in it. Chuck Noll on the other side he's got to get David Woodley back. He needs that. He's had offensive injuries, and he had some more here today, and he took his quarterback out, and offensively, they didn't do much. Of course, the Dolphin defense played very well.
And a swirling kick coming down. Woods takes it at the 45 and goes down immediately. Making the play, Vince Heflin, a 37-yard punt. Nothing much on the return. The Central Division, somewhat of a scramble. There you see Pittsburgh 3-2 coming into today. Now they are going to go to 3-3. Cincinnati and Houston have just had an abominable time, and for that matter, so has Cleveland. So I guess you just count your blessings and try to hang in.
Well, I think even what this means is Pittsburgh, even though they're losing today, still has a 2-game lead over the nearest competitor in the division. They'll get better throughout the year. They'll get some of their injured offensive players back. Their defense is sound and can still continue to play.
We saw Rick Woods shaken up there. They're tending to him on the sideline. That's Ehrenberg. Penalty marker down at the 35-yard line. Rodell Thomas, number 54, made the stop. 2:09 remaining to be played in this one. The Dolphins in complete control at 31-7.
You know, this transition that the Steelers are going through, Jay, has got to be frustrating to some of the old-timers.
Grabbing the face mask, number 54, defense, 1st down.
It's Rodell Thomas, number 54, on the face mask, but getting back to the transition with the Steeler defense and offense are going through, the whole team, with Mike Webster at center and Donnie Shell, the defensive back, and Lambert and Stallworth. It's tough for them to go through these growing pains, but you've got to do it. Players get old and new players come in.
As we said at the top of the show, they're a team in transition. There's Frank Pollard dropping a ball he should have caught. McNeil had the coverage. Well, the Jets won this afternoon, and they are up to 4-2.
The Jets are surprising.
Yeah, the
Jets are surprising after maybe a little bit of house cleaning, call it whatever you may, dealing Richard Todd and a bunch of other players around the league, going with young quarterback O'Brien and now Ryan. And the Jets are surprising to me. New England, I figured, would be tough, but of course the Dolphins are running away from everybody, but the other ones are hanging close.
2nd down and 10 at the 29-yard line. Frank Pollard goes down at the 29-yard line. Oh, we're going to get the 2-minute warning to both benches. 31-7, Miami leads. Here comes another one of those fantastic finishes. Michael Weissman, coordinating producer for football, Ted Nathanson. Today's telecast has been produced by Peter Rolfe and directed by Ted Nathanson. NFL 84 produced by John Filippelli and directed by Bucky Gunts. Our thanks to all the gang.
the primary receiver, the big receiver for the Steelers. Of course, McNeil is the best defensive back coverage-wise, and they assign him to him.
No foul on the play. The flag inadvertently thrown, as they like to say.
You know, Charlie, Jay, we've been talking about the big play defense for the Steelers. The Dolphins have also have some players in their defensive secondary that have scored touchdowns. McNeil ran back one for a touchdown. Judson ran an interception back for a touchdown. So both of these teams defensively are very tough.
4th down and 10 now at the 29-yard line. Malone's 40th attempt coming up. 19 out of 40, and here comes the interception. Back up the field is Bud Brown, the rookie. Brown still going. Brown all the way to the 36-yard line.
He's going to keep that football, too. A rookie.
Looked like they were trying to get it to Stallworth, and he knew it.
11th round draft choice. Was released on the final cut when they cut down to 49, and they brought him back. They must have seen something they liked.
52 yards on the return.
Chuck Noll hasn't seen too much that he liked today. Of course, this is a tough situation for any quarterback. You're down so much, and you never want to throw interceptions, but trying to throw the ball too good, trying to throw it over the front man and in front of the back, and it's picked off.
We've got 1 minute and 35 to go. Well, it's been a very frustrating afternoon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Final, New England defeats Cleveland 17-16, and Washington 35-7 over Indianapolis this afternoon. 2 more finals for you. Pitch back to Nathan. Penalty marker down. Or that's Joe Carter, excuse me. Carter number 23. This 24-point deficit will be the Steelers' worst loss ever at Three Rivers Stadium.
Number 78, defense, 1st down.
I think that's a credit, Jay, to the Dolphins and how well they're playing. They're undefeated. There aren't many undefeated teams left around, and the Dolphins come into a place where they've lost their last 3 games, the last time they played the Steelers, and the Steelers playing well. They came off a big Monday night win. The fans were all talking about it. They're all up for this game, and they come in and blow away the Steelers.
Don Shula, very proud gentleman on this Sunday afternoon, I would think. Right up the middle, Pete Johnson. Pete inside the 25-yard line, stopped by Eric Williams, and we have 1 minute and 20 to play.
Jay, you stop and take a look at the ball game and go back to what we said going into it. Key factors, Dan Marino for the Dolphins. I think it was his homecoming. It was his day, and he got the best of the Steeler defense. They didn't steal it away from him, and they didn't come up with the big plays, and Marino did.
They did put a lot of pressure on him in that first half, but he handled it so well, and you've talked about his quick release. And although we've, of course, got Strzok in the lineup now, I really continue to be very impressed with the man from Pittsburgh, Danny Boy, as you call him.
Well, he's so cool. He's level-headed. He doesn't make mistakes. When he gets rushed, he doesn't throw it up for grabs. He'll throw it away, and he's just the coolest guy I've ever seen. I tell him when I talk to him, I said, "You're making the rest of us look bad."
Speaking of looking bad, they look a little tough over there today. Tough afternoon for the Steelers. 31-7, 20 seconds left to play.